I thought I was just paying the hotel deposit for my childhood best friend's bachelorette trip. Then my phone showed $14,000. You have a steady salary, the bride whispered. Stop being selfish. Then I saw the private group chat and quietly walked to the front desk. When you've known someone since you were 12, you learn how to excuse things before anyone else even notices them. That was how it had always been with Stephanie. If she was late, she was overwhelmed. If she borrowed money and forgot to pay it back, she was stressed. If she made a sharp comment about someone's clothes, apartment, or car, I told myself she was insecure, not cruel. Stephanie always needed life to look perfect. Not actually be perfect. Just look that way. When we were younger, she cared about labels, photos, restaurants, shoes, bags, lighting, angles. I cared about knowing my bills were paid and one emergency wouldn't destroy me. That difference followed us into adulthood, but I never saw it as dangerous. She was the glamorous one. I was the steady one. So when Stephanie got engaged to Daniel, I was genuinely happy for her. Daniel was grounded in a way she wasn't. He wasn't flashy. He didn't seem obsessed with impressing strangers online. He checked prices, asked practical questions, and had the calm patience of someone who read the fine print before signing anything. I thought he balanced her. I thought marriage might calm her down. Then Stephanie asked me to be her maid of honor. She did it over lunch, sliding a pale pink planner across the table like she was handing me something sacred. Amy, she said, you're the only person I trust to keep this organized. That hit me exactly where she knew it would. I had always been useful to Stephanie. I remembered deadlines. I made reservations. I booked rides, compared prices, checked menus, packed chargers, and fixed problems before they became public. Back then, I thought being trusted meant being loved. Her bridesmaids were Ashley, Rebecca, and Nicole, 3 women from her college years. They were friendly enough, but everything about them felt curated. They didn't just drink coffee. They photographed it. They didn't just go out. They documented it. Every quiet moment became proof they were living better than everyone else. The Bachelorette trip was supposed to be simple. 3 days in Las Vegas. A nice hotel. 1 fancy dinner. Pool time. A small spa add-on for anyone who wanted it. Stephanie wanted it to feel special, and I understood that. But 2 weeks into planning, Rebecca sent a message in the group chat saying money was tight and asked if we could keep the weekend reasonable. I was relieved. I built a budget that same night. I compared hotel rates, resort fees, food, rides, taxes, tips, and a small emergency cushion. I made a clean spreadsheet and shared it with everyone. The total cap was $600 per person, not including flights. On a video call, I walked them through every line. This only works if we stick to the plan, I said. No surprise upgrades. No big charges unless everyone agrees first. Ashley nodded while adjusting her camera angle. Rebecca said, thank you. Seriously. I cannot do some crazy luxury weekend right now. Nicole added, same. Reasonable is good. Stephanie smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of course, she said. We're not trying to bankrupt anyone. Because I was coordinating everything, I put my card down for the room block and hotel incidentals. Everyone promised they would pay their share immediately after checkout. I even typed it into the group chat. Just confirming, $600 cap per person unless we all approve extra costs. Everyone agreed. Stephanie sent, stop worrying. It's going to be perfect. I wanted to believe her. The morning we flew out, she showed up at the airport in white sunglasses and a tiny veil. Ashley filmed her walking through the terminal. Rebecca posed with her suitcase. Nicole kept saying the weekend was going to look expensive. That phrase should have warned me. Not feel fun. Look expensive. By the time we landed in Las Vegas, they were already performing for their phones. Every hallway, cocktail menu, and window reflection became content. I stayed behind them with the itinerary in my hand, reminding myself not to be judgmental. This was Stephanie's weekend. I could relax for 3 days. I could be supportive. The hotel lobby was beautiful. Tall glass walls, gold lights, polished floors, and a glowing bar in the distance. It was nicer than the pictures. I felt proud for finding it within budget. Stephanie walked in, looked around, and her smile faded. Ashley lowered her phone. Rebecca whispered, it's cute. Nicole said, yeah, very normal. My stomach tightened. I went to the front desk before anyone could start complaining. Hi, I said, checking in under Amy. We have 3 standard double rooms. The clerk asked for my ID and card. I handed them over. Before he finished typing, Stephanie stepped beside me. Actually, she said with that sweet voice she used when she wanted something, can we ask about upgrades? I turned to her. Stephanie, we already chose the rooms. We're just asking. The clerk smiled politely. We do have a penthouse suite available this weekend. It has a large lounge area, private bar, city view, and oversized bathroom. Ashley gasped. Nicole's phone came up immediately. Rebecca looked at Stephanie and said, that would be insane for photos. I asked the only question that mattered. How much more? The clerk checked his screen. It would be an additional $1,500 per night before taxes and fees. I laughed once because I thought that would end the conversation. No, I said. We can't do that. Stephanie's expression hardened for half a second before she covered it with a smile. Amy, she said quietly, don't embarrass me. I'm not embarrassing you. That's more than the whole budget. We'll split it. That's not what we agreed to. Ashley stepped closer. If it's split between everyone, it's not that bad. Rebecca avoided my eyes. Nicole said, it's her only bachelorette weekend. I looked at Stephanie, waiting for her to remember the budget, the call, the group chat, the promise. She touched my arm and lowered her voice. It's just on your card for now. We'll settle it after. Please don't ruin the mood before we even get upstairs. The clerk stood there waiting. The girls stared at me like I was the cheap friend dragging everyone down. I should have said no. I should have taken my card back and let them figure it out. Instead, I froze under the pressure of 4 expectant faces and nodded. The clerk upgraded the reservation. My card went back into the machine. Stephanie hugged me like she had won something. You're the best, she whispered. But her voice didn't sound grateful. It sounded relieved. The penthouse was ridiculous. The doors opened into a huge living area with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the strip. There was a bar built into the wall, a dining table big enough for 10 people, a bathroom bigger than my first apartment, and soft lighting that made every surface look expensive. Ashley ran straight to the windows with her phone out. Rebecca opened cabinet doors like she was giving a tour. Nicole filmed Stephanie stepping into the suite as if she were entering a palace. Stephanie stood in the middle of the room, glowing. This, she said, is what I wanted. I stood near the entrance with my suitcase still in my hand, trying to quiet the uneasy feeling in my chest. The upgrade was expensive, but if everyone paid their share, it wouldn't destroy me. Painful, yes. Annoying, yes. But manageable if they paid quickly. Then the charges started. At first, they were small enough to ignore. A round of drinks at the hotel bar. A snack tray sent up to the room. Extra waters from the minibar. I reminded them once. Hey, just make sure we're tracking anything charged to the room. Stephanie waved me off. We will. Ashley laughed. Relax, Mom. I smiled because I didn't want to be that person. By Friday evening, they had charged cocktails, appetizers, and a bottle of champagne to the suite. No one asked me first. They just gave the room number and signed Stephanie's name. When my banking app sent the first notification, I told myself it was temporary. $318 at the hotel bar. Then another. $427 for room service. Then another. $690 at the lobby lounge. I stared at the screen while they took photos on the couch, laughing and rearranging glasses they barely drank from. Can we slow down on room charges? I asked. Stephanie didn't look up from her phone. It's the first night. That's why I'm saying it now. Rebecca gave a nervous laugh. We'll split it, Amy. Nicole nodded. Obviously. But no one opened a payment app. No one asked for the running total. No one cared because the card being hit wasn't theirs. Saturday was worse. They rented a cabana by the pool without telling me the price. Ashley said it was necessary because the regular lounge chairs looked crowded in photos. Stephanie ordered champagne before noon. Nicole ordered food for the table and barely touched it. Rebecca kept saying she was stressed about money while ordering another cocktail because it's already on the room. I sat under the cabana shade, watching notifications stack on my phone. $850 for cabana rental. $1,180 at the spa. $540 at the pool bar. My hands went cold despite the heat. I opened the hotel app and saw charges I didn't recognize. Spa treatments. Premium drinks. Minibar restock. A private dining deposit Stephanie had apparently asked about for that night. I found her near the pool taking photos with Ashley. Stephanie, I said, keeping my voice low. We need to talk. She smiled for the camera first, then turned to me. What? The room charges are getting out of control. Her smile tightened. Can we not do this here? We need to do it somewhere. Ashley lowered her phone and looked annoyed. Stephanie leaned close enough that only I could hear her. You are making me feel like I have to ask permission to enjoy my own bachelorette. You agreed to a budget. And we'll pay you back. When? After the trip. That's not good enough anymore. Her eyes narrowed. For a moment, I saw something in her face that made my stomach drop. Not panic. Not guilt. Irritation. Like I was a problem she had expected but hoped to postpone. She walked past me toward the water, ending the conversation without answering. By late afternoon, my card balance had climbed past $9,000 in pending charges. $9,000. I went upstairs alone and sat on the edge of the bed with my banking app open. My credit limit was $15,000. I had savings, but not for this. Not for someone else's fake luxury weekend. That money was supposed to be my emergency fund, my future down payment, my proof that I had built a life no one could knock over. Downstairs, they were probably taking more photos. Upstairs, I was trying not to cry. I messaged the group chat. Everyone needs to send money tonight. The charges are already way past the agreed amount. I cannot carry this balance. No one answered. Then Ashley replied with a laughing emoji. Girl, we're at the pool. Can we do accounting later? Rebecca sent, I'll send after checkout. Nicole wrote, same. Easier when final amount is clear. Stephanie didn't respond. That night, they decided they wanted to stay, and instead of going to the dinner reservation I had already booked, they ordered steaks, seafood, desserts, and more champagne to the penthouse. The food arrived on rolling carts with silver covers, like something from a movie. I stood by the bar while Stephanie signed the receipt. How much was that? I asked. She didn't answer. I stepped closer. Stephanie. She placed the pen down slowly. Amy, please stop hovering over me. My phone buzzed before I could speak. $1,460 room service charge. The balance was now over $13,000. I followed her into the oversized bathroom while the others laughed in the living room. She stood at the mirror fixing her lipstick, calm as ever. I shut the door behind us. Look at my phone, I said. She sighed. What now? I held up the screen. Almost $14,000. My card is almost maxed out. Everyone needs to send money now. She kept applying lipstick. Stephanie, look at it. She finally glanced at the screen for half a second. Then she rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. I felt something crack in my chest. Dramatic? This is my credit card. And you'll be paid back. When? After the wedding. No. That could be weeks. We have deposits, final payments, honeymoon costs. You know how expensive weddings are. I stared at her. You cannot use my card like this, and then tell me I'll get whatever you can spare later. Her face changed. The sweetness disappeared. You have a steady salary, she said. Stop acting like you're poor. I blinked. She turned fully toward me. You're my maid of honor. You're supposed to help me. Instead, you've been counting every dollar like I'm some stranger trying to scam you. Are you? The question came out before I could stop it. Her mouth opened slightly. For 1 second, the room went silent. Then she laughed under her breath. You are so miserable sometimes, she said. You can't just let me have something beautiful. I stood there with my phone shaking in my hand, realizing she didn't feel sorry. Not even a little. Stephanie walked out of the bathroom and left me standing there like I had been dismissed. When I returned to the living room, Ashley was scrolling through photos on her phone. Rebecca was eating dessert from a plate on her lap. Nicole was sitting on the floor, laughing at something Stephanie whispered to her. No one looked worried. The room smelled like perfume, steak, champagne, and expensive candles. Plates were scattered across the table. Half-empty glasses sat near the windows. Someone had spilled something sticky on the counter and covered it with a napkin instead of cleaning it. It felt less like a celebration and more like evidence. I picked up my purse from the chair. I'm not going out tonight, I said. Ashley looked up. We're going downstairs later. I have a headache. Rebecca shrugged. Okay, Nicole said, probably for the best. Stephanie didn't say anything. She gave me a cold little smile and turned back to the others. A few minutes later, they left for one of the hotel lounges. Their heels clicked across the marble entryway. The door closed behind them, and the penthouse went silent. That silence hit harder than the fight. I stood in the middle of the room, surrounded by everything my card had paid for, and finally understood what my role had become. I was the responsible friend. The useful friend. The one who could be trusted with the booking, the budget, the card, the damage. Not the friend they wanted in the photos. I started cleaning because I didn't know what else to do. I stacked plates. I threw away napkins. I wiped the sticky spot on the counter. It was pathetic, but I needed my hands to move. That was when I saw the iPad. It was lying face up beside Ashley's purse on the kitchen counter. The screen kept lighting up with notifications. I know looking was wrong. But when you are $14,000 deep into charges you did not agree to, and the people responsible are laughing downstairs, privacy starts competing with survival. A notification appeared. Stephanie, is she still crying? My body went still. I tapped the screen. It opened to a group chat. The title was Actual Bot Crew. Stephanie, Ashley, Rebecca, and Nicole. Not me. The most recent messages were from the last hour. Stephanie had written, "She cornered me in the bathroom with her bank app like a psycho." Ashley replied, "I knew she would do this. She gives broke energy." Rebecca wrote, "I literally told you I couldn't afford this trip. Thank God she has the card." Nicole added, "She'll complain, but she won't do anything." Then Stephanie sent the message that made my vision blur. "After the wedding, I'll tell her the honeymoon wiped us out and send like $100 a month." What is she going to do, sue her best friend? Ashley answered with laughing emojis. Rebecca wrote, "Please. She wants to be needed too badly." Nicole said, "She doesn't fit the vibe anyway. Better she stayed upstairs." I stood there reading the words until the room seemed to tilt. The money was horrifying, but this was worse. I could have survived a careless mistake. I might have forgiven selfishness if it came with panic and apology. But this wasn't careless. They knew the bill was crushing me. They knew I was scared. They mocked me for it. And Stephanie, my childhood best friend, had planned to trap me with the kind of guilt only she knew how to use. What are you going to do, see your best friend? That line kept repeating in my head. I took photos of the messages with my phone. My hands were steady now, which scared me. The tears were gone. Something colder had taken their place. I scrolled back just far enough to see earlier messages. Ashley had asked before the trip, "Are we really staying in basic rooms?" Stephanie had replied, "For now. Amy booked them because she's allergic to fun." Nicole wrote, "Can we upgrade when we get there?" Stephanie answered, "Yes. If we put her on the spot, she won't say no." Rebecca had sent, "I'm not paying more than planned." Stephanie replied, "No one is asking you to right away." Amy can float it. Float it. Like my credit limit was a pool toy. I took more photos, placed the iPad back exactly where I found it, then walked to the bedroom and packed my suitcase. At first, I moved slowly. Folded clothes. Zipped makeup bag. Checked drawers. Took my charger from the wall. Then I moved faster, afraid they would come back before I was done. My phone buzzed with another notification. $275 hotel lounge charge. They were still doing it. Still charging to the room. Still spending through me while laughing about how I wouldn't fight back. I opened the group chat I was actually in. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I almost wrote, "I saw everything." I almost wrote, "You're disgusting." I almost wrote a paragraph that would have made no difference to people who had already decided I was a wallet with feelings they could ignore. Instead, I locked my phone. It was almost 5 in the morning when the penthouse door opened. I froze. Voices stumbled into the living room. They were laughing, dropping shoes, opening cabinets. I heard Stephanie say, "Where's Amy?" and Ashley answer, "Probably asleep and mad." I stood in the dark bedroom holding my suitcase handle. No one came to check on me. After a while, the suite grew quiet again. I waited another 30 minutes, opened the bedroom door, and moved carefully through the living room. Ashley was asleep on the couch. Rebecca had curled up in a chair. Nicole was on the pull-out bed with one arm over her face. Stephanie's heels were abandoned near the hallway. At the door, I looked back once. For a moment, I saw 12-year-old Stephanie in my mind. The girl who used to sleep over at my house, steal my hoodies, whisper secrets in the dark, and promise we would always be sisters. Then I looked at the women asleep in a penthouse they had tricked me into funding. I opened the door and left. The hallway was quiet in that strange early morning hotel way, like the whole building was holding its breath. I pulled my suitcase over the carpet so the wheels wouldn't make too much noise. In the elevator, I watched the numbers descend and felt my pulse beating in my throat. I expected guilt to hit me. It didn't. What I felt was clarity. If I stayed, they would keep using me until there was nothing left to protect. The lobby was almost empty. A man in a suit sat near the bar scrolling on his phone. A cleaning worker pushed a cart across the marble floor. Behind the front desk, a night manager looked up as I approached. "Good morning," he said. "Checking out?" "Yes," I said. "But I need to discuss the billing first." He asked for my room number. I gave it to him. He pulled up the reservation, and I watched his expression shift as he saw the balance. I need my card removed from additional room charging, I said. He hesitated. You're the card on file for the suite. I understand. I authorized the original room deposit and basic incidentals. I did not agree to keep covering unlimited charges for the entire group. He looked uncomfortable, but not dismissive. I kept going before my nerve broke. The others have been charging everything to the room without asking me. I want to pay my portion of the original booking and anything I personally ordered. After that, I want my card removed from the reservation for any additional charges. The remaining balance needs to be handled with the guests still in the suite. The manager clicked through several screens. Some charges have already been authorized. I understand, I said. I'm not asking you to erase them. I'm asking you to split my folio as much as you can, close out my portion, and stop using my card going forward. I also want documentation of what I personally paid. He looked at me for a long moment. Maybe he had seen this before. Maybe Las Vegas hotels see every possible version of people behaving badly with money. Either way, his voice softened. Let me see what I can do. For several minutes, he worked quietly. I stood there gripping my suitcase handle, expecting Stephanie to appear behind me at any second. Finally, he printed a breakdown. He separated my share of the original standard booking, one salad I had ordered at the pool, and a small portion of the first hotel-arranged ride. It came to just under $400. I paid it. He handed me the receipt. I've removed your card from additional room charging, he said. The remaining guests will need to provide a valid payment method before checkout can be completed. What happens if they can't? They'll need to resolve the balance with the hotel. If Bell Services has their luggage or if they need a final receipt, there may be delays until payment is arranged. We can't ignore a balance this large. I nodded. That was enough. I wasn't trying to have anyone arrested. I wasn't trying to make a public scene. I just wanted my card out of their hands. Thank you, I said. He placed the receipt in an envelope. As I turned to leave, he added, for what it's worth, you're not the first person who has had to do this. I almost laughed. Instead, I walked through the glass doors and into the early morning heat. The strip looked different before sunrise. The lights were still glowing, but the magic was gone. Everything looked tired. Empty cups near planters. Quiet taxis. Workers sweeping sidewalks after other people's fun. I got into a rideshare and went straight to the airport. On the way, my phone buzzed. Stephanie. I stared at her name until it stopped. Then Ashley called. Then Nicole. Then Stephanie again. I didn't answer. At the airport, I bought a one-way ticket home. It was expensive because it was last minute, but it was my expense. My choice. My escape. While I waited at the gate, the messages started. Stephanie, where are you? Stephanie, Amy, this isn't funny. Ashley, are you seriously being dramatic right now? Nicole, we need your card for checkout. Rebecca, please answer. This is getting stressful. I looked at Rebecca's message the longest. This is getting stressful. I wondered if it had felt stressful when they ordered champagne on my card. I wondered if it felt stressful when they called me broke behind my back. I wondered if any of them understood that stress had been sitting in my chest for 2 days while they turned it into a joke. Stephanie called again. This time, I blocked her. Then I blocked Ashley, Rebecca, and Nicole. I blocked them on messaging apps, social media, and everywhere else I could think of while sitting in that airport chair with my suitcase beside me. When the plane took off, I leaned my head against the window. For the first time all weekend, no one was asking me to fix anything. I slept almost the entire flight. When I got home, my apartment felt impossibly quiet. The kind of quiet I used to think was boring. That morning, it felt like safety. I put my suitcase by the door, plugged in my phone, and checked my banking app. There were still pending holds, but no new charges. My card had survived. Barely. I sat on the floor beside my bed and cried for the first time since reading the group chat. Not because of the money. Because some part of me had still wanted Stephanie to call and sound scared for me. Not angry. Not inconvenienced. Scared that she had hurt me. But every message had been about the card. The checkout. The problem I had caused by refusing to be robbed politely. I slept through most of Sunday. When I woke up, the room was dark, my throat hurt, and my phone had so many notifications that for a second I thought something had happened to my family. Then I remembered. Las Vegas. The penthouse. The group chat. The front desk. I had blocked Stephanie and the bridesmaids, but that didn't stop everyone else. Mutual friends had messaged me. Some sent question marks. Some asked if I was okay. Others had clearly heard Stephanie's version first. One message said, I hope you're proud of yourself. Another said, You abandoned a bride in another state? Then one from a friend I hadn't spoken to in months. Is it true you maxed out Stephanie's hotel bill and disappeared? That was when I realized the story had already started changing. I didn't reply right away. I opened my photos and looked at the screenshots from Ashley's iPad. The private group chat was all there. The plan. The insults. The $100 a month comment. The part where Stephanie said I wouldn't do anything. My finger hovered over the send button more than once. I wanted to post everything. I wanted to burn the lie down in public. But I waited. Not because I was noble. I was exhausted. I also knew once those screenshots were out, there would be no taking them back. Stephanie's wedding was still scheduled. Daniel was still in the dark. Families were involved. Deposits were involved. A whole life was sitting on top of a lie, and I was holding the match. That evening, Daniel called me from a number I didn't have saved. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Amy, he said. His voice sounded rough. Yes, it's Daniel. I know. There was a pause. I'm not calling to yell, he said. I closed my eyes. That sentence nearly broke me. He exhaled. I need to understand what happened. For a second, I couldn't speak. Then I told him. Not dramatically. Not perfectly. Just truthfully. I told him about the agreed budget, the upgrade, the room charges, the bathroom conversation, the private group chat, the front desk, and my card being removed from additional charges. I told him I had screenshots. He didn't interrupt once. When I finished, the line was so quiet I thought the call had dropped. Then he said, she told me you offered to cover the weekend as a gift, then changed your mind and stranded them. I laughed once, but it came out more like a gasp. No, I didn't think that sounded like you. That made me cry again, quietly this time. He asked if I would send him the screenshots and the receipts showing what I paid. I said yes. Before sending them, I told him I wasn't trying to ruin his life. His answer was immediate. You're not the one who did that. I sent everything. For almost an hour, there was no response. Then he called back. His voice was different. Flat. Controlled. Amy, he said, I'm sorry. I sat down on the edge of my bed. He told me the hotel had emailed him an itemized folio because Stephanie called him from the lobby sobbing, saying I had abandoned them and left them trapped with a fraudulent bill. She begged him to help before they missed their flight. He didn't blindly pay it. He asked for the receipt first. The receipt showed everything. Champagne, cabana, spa packages, room service, lounge charges, upgrade fees, premium bar items, charges that lined up exactly with what I had described. Then he saw my screenshots. The worst part, he said, wasn't even the money. It was the planning. The way Stephanie knew I would feel guilty. The way she counted on my loyalty as a weakness. The way she was ready to let me carry thousands of dollars for months, while calling me dramatic behind my back. I asked her about the group chat, he said. What did she say? At first, she denied it. Then she said you invaded Ashley's privacy. Then she said everyone vents. I pressed my fingers to my forehead. Of course. Not sorry. Just caught. Daniel said he paid enough to get the hotel balance settled because he didn't want the situation escalating, but he made the bridesmaids transfer whatever they could before he covered the rest. He also told Stephanie they would discuss everything when she got home. I could hear it in his voice. Discuss did not mean forgive. The next 2 days were chaos. Stephanie tried to call me from other numbers. Ashley messaged me through a second account. Rebecca sent one long apology that somehow still blamed the pressure of the weekend. Nicole said she never meant for it to get that serious, as if $14,000 had accidentally appeared on my card by itself. I didn't answer any of them. Then, on Wednesday morning, Daniel called again. He had ended the engagement. He said it plainly, like a man reading a weather report because the real emotion was too large to touch. I called off the wedding. My stomach dropped. Even after everything, hearing it out loud shocked me. He told me Stephanie screamed, cried, begged, accused him of choosing me over her, then accused me of manipulating him. She said I had always been jealous. She said I wanted to ruin her happiness. She said the group chat was just jokes. Daniel asked her one question. If Amy had never found the messages, when were you planning to pay her back? Stephanie didn't answer. That silence did what my screenshots couldn't. The wedding collapsed from there. Daniel canceled what he could. Some deposits were lost. Families were furious. Stephanie told people I had destroyed her life over a misunderstanding. Ashley and Nicole backed her version at first, until pieces of the receipt started spreading. Rebecca went quiet. Then my sister called. She had heard enough to know the truth, but not enough to be fully on my side. You were right to protect yourself, she said. I want to be clear about that. But, she sighed. Leaving without a word was harsh. I stared at my bedroom wall. They were planning to stick me with the bill. I know. And that's awful. But you knew this would explode. What was I supposed to do? Wake them up and ask permission to stop being used? No, she said softly. I just think part of you wanted them to feel scared. I didn't respond. Because the worst part was, she wasn't completely wrong. I did want them to feel something. Maybe not fear. Maybe consequences. Maybe 1 second of the panic I felt staring at my balance while they laughed in another room. My sister said, I'm not saying you're the villain. I'm saying this wasn't clean. That stayed with me. Nothing about it was clean. A month later, people were still talking. Not everyone knew the full story, and the ones who did still chose sides based on whatever made them feel better. Some people said Stephanie had been selfish, but that I went too far. Some said Daniel was lucky he found out before the wedding. Some said I should have confronted everyone in the room instead of leaving. Others said I did exactly what they deserved. I stopped trying to convince everyone. For years, I had been the person who explained herself. I over-explained texts. I softened boundaries. I apologized for things that weren't my fault just to end tension. Silence felt unnatural, almost rude. But every time I drafted a public post, I deleted it. Not because Stephanie deserved protection. Because I deserved peace. Daniel and I spoke only twice after the wedding was canceled. The last time, he told me he had moved out and was staying with his parents while he figured things out. He sounded tired, but certain. I'm sorry you got dragged into this, I said. He was quiet for a moment. I think I was already in it, he said. You just showed me the receipt. That sentence stuck with me. The receipt. That was what the whole friendship had become by the end. A record of what things really cost. The trip cost me money, but not as much as it could have. It cost Stephanie her wedding. It cost Daniel the future he thought he was building. It cost our friend group the illusion that everyone was kind, harmless, and just a little dramatic. But the biggest cost was quieter. A few weeks after everything happened, I found an old photo album in my closet while looking for tax documents. Inside were pictures from high school, birthdays, sleepovers, cheap mall photo booths, years when Stephanie and I looked like we belonged to the same story. There was one photo of us sitting on bleachers, arms around each other, cheeks flushed from laughing. She was wearing one of my hoodies. I was holding a soda. We looked young enough to believe friendship was permanent if you loved someone hard enough. I sat on the floor for a long time with that photo in my hand. That was the part nobody online cared about. They wanted a villain and a hero. A clean answer. A satisfying punishment. But grief doesn't work like that. I could know Stephanie used me and still miss the girl she used to be. I could be proud I protected myself and still feel sick that everything ended in a hotel lobby before sunrise. I could believe Daniel deserved the truth and still hate that I was the reason he saw it. People kept asking if I regretted leaving. The honest answer is complicated. I regret trusting her with my card. I regret ignoring the look on her face at check-in. I regret all the small moments over the years when I laughed off behavior that should have warned me. But I do not regret walking to that front desk. I do not regret removing my card. I do not regret choosing my future over someone else's performance. A few days ago, Stephanie sent me a letter. An actual letter. No return address, but I knew her handwriting immediately. For almost an hour, I left it unopened on my kitchen counter. Then I made tea, sat down, and read it. She said I humiliated her. She said Daniel would have forgiven the spending if I hadn't made it look so ugly. She said best friends don't abandon each other. Near the end, she wrote, you could have just talked to me. I stared at that line for a long time. Because I had talked to her. In the lobby. At the pool. In the bathroom. In the group chat before the trip. I had used words, numbers, warnings, and boundaries. She just didn't hear any of it until my card disappeared. I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. Then I placed it in the same box as the old photos. Not because I wanted to keep it forever. Because I needed to remember the whole truth, not just the soft parts. My savings account is still intact. My credit card is paid down. I changed my passwords, froze that card, and opened a new one with a lower limit for travel. I also stopped being the automatic planner for people who confuse responsibility with permission. Sometimes I still wake up angry. Sometimes I still miss her. Sometimes I wonder whether 12-year-old Stephanie would hate who she became, or whether the signs were always there, and I just loved her too much to see them. I don't know. What I do know is this. That morning in Las Vegas, I didn't destroy a wedding. I didn't steal a dream. I didn't abandon my best friend in the desert. I stopped paying for a lie. And maybe that makes me cold. Maybe it makes me cruel. Maybe some people will always believe I should have swallowed the damage quietly because that would have been easier for everyone else. But for the first time in my life, I was not the sidekick in Stephanie's story. I was the person who picked up her suitcase, walked downstairs, and saved herself.